Okay, so I'm Mallory Covington, and I'm an archivist here at the Oklahoma History Center. And I'm going to talk to you about primary sources, citations, and kind of some things that might help with topic choices, especially if you're looking to do research here. So first off, we're going to talk about what is a primary source, because sometimes it can be difficult to determine. So a primary source, according to the Smithsonian, is a firsthand original account or record or evidence about a person, place, object, or event. Primary sources can include a variety of things like oral histories, objects, photographs, documents, newspapers. They can also include books. You just have to be very careful that you make sure that they were written at the time of the event and by a person who witnessed it. So why do we use primary sources? So primary sources are linked to the past. Sometimes they're the only way that we know what happened, because if a person was there and saw it, then they're going to know, what happened, as opposed to somebody who 50 years from then wrote a book about it or, tried to relay that information. So primary sources often contain information that can't be found in books, magazines, websites. And also, primary sources can also give you a more in-depth look into events past, like dates, places, and stuff that's listed in textbooks. And they can be used to support facts. So when you look at a primary source, if you're reading a letter, then you can use that letter to maybe back up something that you saw in a book, or maybe it will tell you something completely different from the book, which is also important. So when you go to look at a primary source, there are going to be several things you want to look for. You're going to want to know who wrote or created the item. This is going to give you a big clue about whether it's actually a primary source and whether that person is credible. So what's the date? That's also going to kind of help you determine primary source or not. So how did they create it? Did they write it? Did they speak it? A lot of times with oral histories, as you get older, everybody knows your memory's not as great. So oral histories, especially the dates, are going to be important because, the closer to the event that the oral history was done, the better off you're going to be. So why do you think this item was created? This is also going to be an important part because was it a diary? Was it a personal thing? Or was it a commercial? Was it a newspaper article? Because that'll also help you determine if there was bias involved and whether they had put their own personal opinions into it. So what is the main idea of what happened? So that's going to be a big thing. And what questions do I have? If you read something and you're like, well, what about this and what about this? Then that's also going to help you direct you to your next source. Do you need to go to books? Do you need to go to newspapers? So where can you find primary sources? Primary sources are pretty much everywhere. You can find them, in archives, libraries. You can find them in schools. You can find them online. You can find them in your grandma's attic. If she's got letters that she wrote, maybe you have a family member who was in World War II, those letters are primary sources. So don't limit yourself to just kind of institutional places. Look around your house. Your books are primary sources, that kind of thing. So things you want to remember about primary sources is that most primary sources are not going to be available online, which I know for this particular time is not the easiest thing, but keep that in mind for future projects. And a lot of documents are in cursive, and people have bad handwriting. That never changed throughout history. So you may need someone to help you read them. And if the item is about an event, person, place, or thing, it's usually not a primary source. So the closer to the time period primary sources, the better off you're going to be. And what we have here that's considered primary sources or has our biggest chunk of primary sources is manuscript collections, the photos, audio and oral history, film and video, and then newspapers. So we'll kind of go through those one by one. So manuscripts are going to be paper-based materials. They're going to be things that aren't copyrighted. They'll be one of a kind, unique, that you're not going to find anywhere else. And you have like diaries, letters, business records, maps, certificates, so all those kinds of things. So what I've kind of done to kind of help everybody along with their research is I've created a bunch of manuscript guides, which you can find on the website under the manuscript page. And they will give you just kind of a general idea of what collections we have that have quite a bit of information on those different topics. It's not going to be absolutely everything, so you should definitely check the online catalog, but these will give you a good start and kind of help you and point you in the right direction of where you want to go. So for the audio and oral history, we've got thousands of interviews and audio recordings that include Native American tribal chants. We've got radio shows, we've got speeches, we've got recordings of parades, all sorts of things. In the oral history program that we had here, it's kind of unique because we didn't just interview, politicians or famous people. We went out and interviewed farmers and teachers and all sorts of things. So it's a great diverse collection to look at. And we have been uploading a ton of these to YouTube, so you can go and look on our YouTube channel, and it's done either by, there's different topics, or you can just search for a name. So our film and video, these have also been put up on YouTube. We've got lots of film of just kind of different places in Oklahoma, governor inaugurations, coal miners, Boy Scouts, just kind of all over the place. But there's a lot of really great stuff on there. So Patricia had mentioned earlier about the vertical files, and this is kind of what our database looks like online. You can look and search by topic, or you can search by name. And most of the vertical files just have newspapers, photocopies of research, materials from other places, so it's not going to be anything original. But it's a good starting point for a project because it has a lot of general information in it. So you can go on our website, and then we will pull them for you, and you can take a look at those, and you can copy anything from them. So a very important part of History Day and your projects is going to be citing your materials. You need to let people know where you got this stuff from. So when you're citing primary sources from the OHS, you want to make sure that you have the collection name, the collection number, the box, and the folder, because if somebody really is interested in your project and they want to come back and look at what you looked at, you need to make sure that you tell them where you got it from so they can come look at it as well. So with oral histories and photographs, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to need to make sure that you have the item number and like the collection name, and if it's like a photograph of so-and-so or an interview with so-and-so, you'll have to have that as well. So when you're using the online catalog, it's also called Quadrastar, so if you see that on there, it's the same thing. It's where we keep track of all the materials that we have in the collections. So you're able to view the catalog from home, but most of the items are not going to be available there. You'll have to come in. So I've just kind of taken a screenshot here of a search that I did on the catalog for just statehood, and you can kind of see how it's set up. In between the lines is what we call a record, and they will tell you, what it is and what collection it's in. And when you're looking at the record, you'll be able to tell if it's something that you can look at online, because there'll be a little PDF icon, or there'll actually be like a little photograph that you can click on and make it bigger. And with the PDFs, you can download those and use them for whatever you need to in your project. So it's kind of the same for the oral history and the film and video. If it's something that's up on YouTube, there'll be a little thing that says click here to listen to interview, or click here to view film, and that'll take you directly to the YouTube page. So if you do want to come and visit, what you need to do before you visit is contact Miss Sarah to schedule a visit, and she will contact us over here in the research division. And what we'll probably need to know is what you want to look at before you get here, because that will help us make sure that we have that ready for you, so you're not just kind of sitting around waiting for us to pull boxes for you. So we will need the collection name, the collection number, and the box number so that we can pull the right materials for you. And so when you're going on the catalog, this is kind of where you can find the information that you need. So in the red box is the name of the collection, and then the gray arrows will show you which box number it is and the collection number. And then down at the bottom of the slide, you'll see the example putting all three together. So during your visit, when you come in, you'll be in the viewing room, which you saw in that photograph in Patricia's presentation. You won't be able to take bags, purses, or backpacks with you. You'll have to either leave those in your car or leave them out behind the desk. We do provide white cotton gloves because you have to wear those to look at the documents to make sure that the oils and things on your finger don't harm the paper. You can take photos with, your phone or your tablet. You just can't use a flash. And if you have like a little personal scanner, you can use those as well. And it's pencils only, just in case, accidentally things get marked up. We can just erase that. And you'll do one box at a time and keep the documents in the same order in the folders, because a lot of times we do things by chronological or topical or things like that. So these are just kind of some basic ideas of some topics that we've had in the past that we've had a lot of luck with, and some that we haven't. So we have a lot of primary source materials on things like the Civil War, World War II, Native Americans, civil rights, space and astronauts, and things like that. And things we don't have a whole lot of primary source are going to be more recent events, probably from about the 80s to the present, because the way the Historical Society gets collections is based off of donations. So a lot of times people who have more recent stuff haven't donated it to us yet. We're not going to have stuff on European history because we do collect mainly on Oklahoma. So if you've got topics that are outside of Oklahoma, we probably aren't going to have anything. We've had a lot of things on Nazi Zudi. We don't really have a whole lot. We've got a biography of him, I think, but we don't have a whole lot of primary source materials. So that'll just kind of give you an idea of things that we do have. I mean, this is not a complete list by any means, but we also do get things pretty consistently, new donations and stuff, so you can always check the catalog or to see if we've gotten anything new. So I think that ends my slideshow.